what they did. And then the fact that Kansas City's game plan defensively was, we are not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. And they didn't. Saquon Barkley did not beat them last night. It was the arm of Jalen Hurts that I think Kansas City said, look, if we can stop the run, I think we can live with Jalen Hurts trying to beat us with his arm. And he went out and did it, and he was fantastic last night.
He really did it with both his legs and his arm.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you what,
really well.
He's the first guy since Steve Young, I don't even remember the year, but he's the first guy to lead both teams in throwing and rushing in a Super Bowl. That's pretty heady stuff. We'll have more on that at the end of the show when we get to medals. Let's get to the Tigers, 20-4 now, 10-1 on the year, a game and a half up on UAB. That was a heck of a game yesterday at FedEx Forum. Way too close for comfort. Here's a 13.5-point line in this game, and it's tied 35-35 at the half. The Tigers just kept turning the ball over in the first half. 11 turnovers in the first half. But only 2 in the second half. We had 16 lead changes, 9 ties. There was no Tyrese Hunter, and I think that was part of the reason for the problems in the first half. And then Dante Harris settled everybody down in the second half. Yes, Dante Harris, the kid that just joined the team like 6 games ago, he had his best game by far. They fixed their rebound problem. Remember, that was like 45-29.
Yeah.
22 offensive rebounds for Temple in Philadelphia. They had 8 offensive rebounds. The Tigers had 10, and they got out rebounded 26-24. So they literally had 25 less rebounds in this game than they did in Philly. It was absolutely nutty. And Haggerty was, as usual, Haggerty. All he had was 20 points. How about 7 assists with only 1 turnover, 2 steals, a block, his second one this year. I mean, he's just worth the price of admission. I just love watching this guy play for sure. And, they just really dominated Temple in the second half. Temple hit like 3 or 4 threes more than their average, and some of them were from outside. I don't know what it is about the Tigers, because if you look at their percentages on defense, they're not terrible. In fact, going into that game, teams would shoot 29% threes against them. Well, the Tigers are shooting 41%. So it was kind of nuts, but they hit 11 threes yesterday. Some of them, like Steve Sell III, he hit one from 35 or 40 at the end of a shot clock. And it was nothing but net, and it's like he just threw it up like a prayer. It was kind of nutty. But the Tigers outscore them 55-47 in the second half. We're once up 15 in the game, and they were pretty darn dominant. So now they got a little tough road trip this year. They go to Tampa on Thursday. It'll be 70 degrees. Then they got to go to Wichita on Sunday. It'll be about 10 degrees, something like that. It'll be crazy. And both those places can be difficult to play, in particular Wichita, but Wichita not having the greatest year for sure. When you watched yesterday, second half, I said this team's going to probably end up about 13 in the poll. There were 15 in the coaches' poll yesterday. That poll will come out in about 45 minutes. And they were 17 in the AP. Brian Dacus, where do you think they end up?
Yeah, I think they'll move up a couple spots. With a couple wins. Obviously, if you just keep winning, you're going to keep improving. In the poll, you mentioned it. Some of those shots they were hitting. Temple all game, whether it was first half, second half, 3-pointers, 2-pointers at the rim, wherever it was, they're making some tough shots yesterday. There were a handful of times when they went up with a shot, and I was going, ooh, that's a bad shot, and it was able to fall. So, their shot making was really good last night, but you're right. Tigers able to stretch it in the second half and get a good win. But I think something we know about the Tigers, 2 things we know about the Tigers. For whatever reason, opposing teams are going to shoot better from 3 against Tigers, and unless it's UAB or a top 25 team, Memphis isn't going to cover the spread.
It seems that way, doesn't it? We know really Haggerty's the key totally to this team. Mm-hmm. Hunter is incredibly important. That's the best tandem in the league by far, and one of the best tandems, I think, in the country because Tyrese is so steady. Now, he's got some knee issues. I hope it's just temporary. It's been bothering him all year long for sure. But I hope the stiffness or the swelling, whatever it is in that knee, is not going to be a hindrance for the rest of the year because he's so critical. Mm-hmm. But the more I see this, the more I have hopes that Memphis can get to the second weekend of the tournament. And they're a 4 seed last week in Palm, and I respect Jerry Palm's placement. I think they're 5 seed maybe in Lenardi, but that should move up as long as they keep winning. But I think it's Dane Danger, who is so important to this team. Again, so fundamentally sound yesterday. If he doesn't turn the ball over a lot, he's so darn good. Now, we did have 4 turnovers. I think most of those were in the first half. He had 18 points. He had 8 rebounds, but he was 5 of 7 from the outside. In this stretch, since he's been a starter, he's like his percentages are 75%. He is amazing. He was even 8 of 10 from the free throw line yesterday. I think the second weekend could be dependent, as long as Haggerty and Hunter are good, could be dependent on just how good Danger is. If this is the Danger we're going to get, I think he's a danger to the competition.
Yeah, and you saw it yesterday at the start of the game. I mean, the game plan early was to get it to Danger on the block and let him work, and he was really hot to start the game. He starts to turn the ball over a little bit, has those 2 fouls. He has to go and sit. But you're right. I think Danger in the starting lineup has been huge for Memphis, and I think he, when Danger plays well, that's a key for Memphis.
Yeah, all right, so we'll see what happens now as they hit the road to Tampa and to Wichita. I've been mentioning we are here at Dinstall's. We do this every Valentine's Day. On Wednesday, the strawberries come out. Today, you could still get the turtlettes or the cashew crunch. We got both right in front of me. You can come and sample. We've got a drawing again, a box of chocolate-covered strawberries or a ticket for one, a round of assorted chocolates, and 4 tickets to the Tigers, the Florida-Atlanta game on February the 23rd. I think those are pretty good seats that we've got for that game, too. And we'll be giving all of that away at 1 o'clock. All you've got to do is come by, and the drawing is there. Becky Dinstall joins us now, and thank you for having us. Let's start with that. And let's begin with the strawberries. Where are we getting these strawberries from this year at this point? Oh, let me turn your mic up. There we go.
Let me say we are delighted that you're here once again. It wouldn't be Valentine's without Sports 56 here, and particularly you and Greg and Eli and Johnny. But the strawberries for the dipping this week will be from Florida, which is kind of typical for this time of year. They're the first domestic batch that's kind of coming online. And then as the season progresses, it will move a little further west, and we'll get some Louisiana or some homegrown.
I knew Louisiana was in there at some point.
Oh, yeah, they are one of my favorites.
When it's near summer,
yeah.
Where do you get them?
In the summertime, because the local crops are pretty much done, then we have to rely on California.
Okay.
So.
And then you say goodbye.
Yeah, we do. It lasts
It's like
about
football
Labor Day.
season is the end, right?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. We roll from strawberries to caramel apples.
So we ended at football. We begin it right as March Madness is about to begin. I kind of like the symmetry of all that. So what have we got? We're giving. Are we doing a 56 special here?
Absolutely. We're going to be giving away a pound of chocolate-covered strawberries for one lucky person, and then another lucky person will get a 1-pound heart box of our finest assorted chocolates. So come on in and register.
Sign up. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. What's the hottest seller these days?
Well,
My Cashew Crunch?
The Cashew Crunch is still one of the number ones. And then, of course, this time of year, strawberries they will be the leader for the Valentine's season. But we have so many beautiful hearts, and they're packed with assorteds, or you can come in and select your own assortment, and we're happy to custom pack it just for your Valentine.
You can do, like I knew for the holidays, you would put a logo on a bar of chocolate, right?
Yes, we sure do. And so we can do, we do that for a lot of companies, particularly during the holiday season. They'd like to give Dinstall's, but they would like their name on it. So we're happy to accommodate that as well.
We're in sports, we talk stats and analytics. I am curious, how many pounds of strawberries do you think you will sell this year?
Well, just for the 3 days of Valentine's,
Yeah.
we will be selling approximately 8,000 pounds
No
in
way.
3 days. We make them and sell them in 3 days.
8,000 pounds?
And if you really do the math, there's no less than 6 per box and probably up to 8 per box. So somewhere.
So that's by weight.
That
right?
is
That's
by
how you
weight.
do it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's by weight. So depending on the size of the berry, you're going to get, we guarantee no less than 6, no matter how much they weigh. But then many times up to 8 will yield a pound. And so you do the math of 8 times 8,000, and that tells you how many individual strawberries we'll be dipping.
Wow.
And they are cleaned, capped, dipped in fondant, and then enrobed in chocolate, packed, distributed, and ready for you.
How many pounds of fondant do we have in all that?
Probably about 5,000 pounds of fondant.
Wow, so it's almost 2 to 1 then.
Yeah, almost. It's kind of like a third is the strawberry weight, a third is fondant, and a third is chocolate.
Boy, that sounds like a great combination.
Yeah.
Well, and the way your fondant works, I have to tell people this. Sometimes you got to be very careful with the way you eat them because the fondant breaks down the berry and it makes it incredibly sweet, but it's very juicy. It can be very messy. I have ruined many a shirt on those chocolate-covered strawberries.
Well, the favorite way to eat the Valentine's, just get in the bathtub and eat them.
With your partner.
There you go.
I love it. We don't want to get too X-rated on this show. And you can get them all 5 locations, right?
That's correct, including our downtown store. So Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, Pleasant View, and downtown.
Yeah, I like it. You got it covered, suburbs to downtown, my neck of the woods at Laurelwood, and, of course, where they make it here. Are we ever going to get back to where you can watch people make the candy like you used to around Christmas?
Well, we've had limited tours. Our challenge is with our space and some of our equipment, it's kind of tight. And so with USDA requirements, we're kind of limited as to what we can do. We're trying to find ways that we can incorporate it, but at the moment, we don't have tours scheduled.
Okay. I think we all missed that. That was fun.
Yeah.
I always think about the Lucy show with Lucy and Ethel on the candy line, trying to keep up with it all. It's always a fond memory of mine, and I know your business just keeps growing.
Well, we're fortunate and grateful that it is, and we are Memphis. This is our 123rd year.
That's incredible.
To be in business in Memphis, and we're proud of that. We're devoted to Memphis, and we ship all over. But, this is our home base.
Well, I always say you're a taste of Memphis, but you're the sweetest taste of Memphis. And
Thanks,
that is
Dave.
for sure. Becky, and
just
you're the
remember,
sweetest of the sweet.
Oh, nobody dips them like Dinstall's.
There you go. And the voice is so good, too. That is Becky Dinstall. We got to take a break. Another sweetheart of a guy, the Hall of Famer, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. He will come your way momentarily. Again, we are here at Dinstall's. We're going to be here till 1. We got giveaways of candy. We got Cashew Crunch. We got Turtlettes. We got caramels. We got the caramel with the salt. We got it all. All you got to do is come by and say hello and buy something for your someone special at Dinstall's. And again, we're here until 1. Back in a minute on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Old defense guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of. Classic arms in Eastville. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections, appraisals, and free bar setting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsInMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Turntop Parkway behind Frankie's Barbecue in Cordova.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342.
There's no place like home, Town Village.
Judge Napolitano here. Can you believe the chaos we're facing today? It is out of control. Spending is out of control. The dollar is dying. It's just a matter of time until digital money replaces cash. It's coming fast. So you need to get educated in other ways to invest and preserve the wealth you already have. Right now, by calling Beer Capital at 800-927-2400, get their free report, The Tipping Point.
I'm so excited.
I had a feeling you'd be excited.
That doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Well, technically, it's the same location.
Same location, but a very different Central Barbecue on Central.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want to confuse people. The new Central Barbecue location on Central is the same place as the old Central Barbecue on Central.
But it's so much more. It's big, for one thing.
It is a whole lot bigger. Well, I mean, I think it has to be.
Because everybody in Memphis is going to be flocking to the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Where the old Central Barbecue on Central used to be.
Details.
Love is in the air, and it's time to remember all the sweethearts in your life. The best way I know is Dinstall's. It's Valentine's Day on the 14th. We're celebrating on Monday with our annual Valentine's Day remote at Dinstall's, where they make the candy on Pleasant View. We will be launching chocolate-covered strawberry season. That begins on Wednesday. Remember, nobody dips them like Dinstall's, and we'll see you on Monday on Pleasant View.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Is the voice of the Tigers.
Well, you just heard that really smart guy tell you we're at Dinstall's, and we're launching the strawberry season. But I will tell you this. The Family Leisure Studio has moved to Dinstall's on Pleasant View, but you got to go check out Family Leisure because it's really going on. They've got the new pool and patio spring sale because they got to move out. The 24s, 25s are coming in. All kinds of opportunities for you. Hot tubs, great price. Some of the best you've ever seen. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Go see our friends at Family Leisure. We head to Pittsburgh. Mike DeCourcy joins us now. Of course, you're in the same state, but not quite in Philly. But even you had to be impressed with what the Eagles did to the Chiefs. Hall of Famer, how are you?
I am well this morning, Dave, and I was very impressed. It was astounding, to be honest. They destroyed a terrific offense. Now, this KC offense is not what it had been. It was not ever prolific in the way that several of them were in the last few years. The skill position players are not up to the level of what they had been, and that had an impact. But they were able to hang in games and then have Mahomes do something extraordinary and win. And in this time, they were not able to hang in the games, and Mahomes was not only not extraordinary, he was part of the issue. And that was largely because of the great defensive job that Philly did. And, it's interesting because they did not do anything, in the front, they did not do anything extraordinary. I mean, they just beat their men. They didn't really even do a lot of twists and stuff. They didn't even do a lot of twists and stuff. They just pushed guys back. You saw the one time when he threw the interception at the 10-yard line because the defensive end just pushed his guy right into Mahomes, just rode him all the way back. That's something you see when it's like Alabama against Mercer, man. That's what you usually see in one of those games.
Well, my sense of it all was, and we never really give enough credit to the guys up front. But if
Right.
you look at line play, the trenches, where I tend to think physicality really ends up being the difference in most games. Philadelphia was better on both sides, and part of the problem this year with Kansas City was their offensive line wasn't as good. They lost the kid from SMU, Rashee Rice, early with the wreck that he had, the injury. But I just don't think their O-line was as good. And as you mentioned, I mean, they didn't do anything extra special up front. They just physically beat them, and that was on both sides of the ball. So
Absolutely.
We may see this Eagles team for a while. I mean, look, that's 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, and they win one of them. They may be around for a while.
Yeah, they're going to be formidable. Their personnel people have been exceptional. They've emphasized offensive and defensive line. They've been a little bit fortunate. The whole Jalen Carter, I mean, fortunate is an odd word to use in that circumstance, right? But the whole Jalen Carter thing happens, and it benefits the Eagles. The car wreck and all of that. If it hadn't been for that, I don't think he would have been in the Eagles draft reach. And so
Right.
things like that sometimes, but then when you bring in somebody you're not 100% certain about, you have to have a team culture that makes sure that person is 100% with you. And the Eagles are one of those franchises that have that in place, put that in place, and enforce it.
All right. Again, we had crazy ranked teams fall again. Both won. Auburn to Florida, Duke to Clemson, team that the Tigers beat on the road, by the way. Number 16 lost again. What is it? That's 8 times, I think, this year that the 16th ranked team in the AP fell. It's like the curse of 16. I mean, that's crazy. But, again, we had some turmoil. The Tigers were winners again. They've won 7 in a row now. Where do you think they will move up into the rankings? I know you'll do something like that. They were 15 in the coaches, 17th in the AP. I guess about in a half hour, they'll put out the new one. Where will my Tigers be?
You know, David, that I don't care. I as much as I care about the Tigers from my years there, I don't care where they're ranked. It doesn't matter. It really, I mean, it honestly doesn't matter where I or Joe Lenardi or Jerry Palmer, whoever has them seated either. But if you want to get at least a read on what will matter, which is where they end up, we're generally in the ballpark.
Right.
Any one of us or the Matrix, which is the consensus of everybody who does it, those are things that they're not, like I said, they're not necessarily going to impact, but they're going to be a guide for what does matter. Like a year ago, you look at the AP poll, I think Auburn in the final AP poll of the regular season was 5th or 6th or something. And they wound up a 5 seed, a 4 seed, a 4 or 5. I can't remember now, 4 or 5. So like that ranking didn't mean anything to them. But I had them as whatever they were seated. I'm pretty sure I nailed it. And I'm pretty sure most of us did, because that's where you're going to be in March. And again, I don't, just because the Tigers are a 4 or a 5 for me now, doesn't mean they'll be a 4 or 5 on Selection Sunday. But if you're following along, those are the guideposts. And again, I'm not saying I'm 100% right, but I am saying that if you look at us as a group, or look at the matrix, the bracket matrix, or you trust me, you're welcome to trust me. I really
trust you.
Yeah, that's really what is going to be a guide for them. And I bounced them down to a 5 on Friday because it's just getting a lot of good traffic right around that 4-5 line, and I knocked them down. But then I think tomorrow they'll climb back up. If they keep doing this, they're going to be in that range, and that will help them.
This is what I wanted to ask you, because Palm's got him as a 4. I think you have him as a 5. I think Lenardi has him a 5. That might change because.
I think Joe had him as a 4 on Friday or whatever day.
Oh, he does. He's got him as a 4 too.
I thought he had him as a 4.
All right. So my question is, if they win out, and I don't think they will. I think they'll get tripped up, but maybe at UAB, even though they dominated UAB at home. Andy Kennedy is going to have that team fired up, and Monto Arena can be a tough place to play. But if they were, what is the ceiling for Memphis as a seed?
If they won out, I'd say it's probably a 3, but that there might be some things that could happen that could squeeze them up onto the 2 line. It would probably be. That's what makes it hard for the Tigers, is that even a win out scenario, there's so much traffic with good teams. With all the powerful SEC teams plus a few from the Big 12 and Big 10, that it'll be hard to crack that. And what does St. John's do as well? What if they win out? I mean, I think St. John's being in the Big East is going to put them in line ahead of the Tigers, even though the Tigers have the non-conference performance by 100 laps over what St. John's did. I think that being in the Big East now again, but I don't know that St. John's is going to win out either. So that's where the issue for the Tigers is just that, especially those strong SEC teams. And unfortunately for the Tigers, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, the teams that they played are not the ones that are at the very top now. Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, Kentucky, etc., Alabama. Those are the ones that are staying in that high level range.
Over the last 20 years, you and I have watched an explosion of popularity in college basketball. A lot of that had to do with the fact that ESPN came on board, and you have to have a venue, right? A place for exposure. And they dedicated a lot of programming time to college basketball. It was a reason for the explosion. But there was an ambassador to all of that, Dickie V. So Dick Vitale returns for the Clemson-Duke game yesterday. And I would just love your thoughts on Dickie V, who I got to know a little bit. Spent a night at his house, went on a plane ride with him. He was kind enough to take me because I was between a basketball game and a football game, and I was going in the right direction. I know what a great guy he is. But when you think about the popularity of the sport, what do you think Dickie V's role is going to be remembered for that?
Yeah, I think that he's been hugely influential in growing the sport, because he was an ambassador for it, and he was someone whose enthusiasm was genuine. I mean, if his enthusiasm, all those years when he was, now some of it, the way he calls a game is performance.
Sure.
The various catchphrases and that sort of thing, but the enthusiasm behind it is not something he learned at the actor studio. This is not method acting he's doing. This is real. Because if it weren't real, he's not fighting as hard as he fought over the last 2-3 years to get back in that chair on Saturday afternoon. I mean, it really meant something to him to be able to do that, to be able to call that Duke Clemson game, and that's just that. So that shows you how much his affection for the job and for the sport is real. And you said how good a guy he is, but he is such a good guy. I mean, he is so friendly and so kind and so caring, and he's that way with me. Lots of people. You see him all the time. When he's in public, he goes to breakfast or whatever, and he's always interacting with people, and he never says no to an autograph or a picture or whatever. I don't know where he gets it. I get recognized like twice a year or something like that from the stuff I do, so it's not ever an inconvenience. But I mean, can you imagine what it must be like to have it happen 7 times a day? I don't know how he does it.
I don't either. He's a wonderful human being, and I am so, and he's a tough son of a gun. The way he has battled 2 different types of cancer, it's amazing. Yeah, it really is. Tom Izzo surpassed yesterday Bobby Knight as the winningest Big Ten coach, Big Ten wins, with 353. I remember Izzo, and I've always kind of liked Tom. I don't really know him, but I can remember the year the Tigers went, and so it's 2008, to the Final Four. Memphis beat the heck out of Michigan State in Houston. And before that game, you have your day before press conferences. And so we're there. We're listening to Izzo. We want to hear his view of the matchup. And it was the first time I'd ever really heard a coach talk so nicely about John Calipari. And he was going, here's the thing about John. John tries to be innovative because they'd just taken on the dribble drive the year before. Right. And he goes, John will have us come down to his place. And they did this in Tunica. I remember this very well. He'll bring all these coaches. We'll bring players into the gym. We're going to experiment. He's going to share all of his secrets because he loves the game. And I've never heard another coach talk that nicely about Calipari. Then Calipari's team killed him the next day. But I've always felt pretty good about Izzo, and now you see these numbers and his longevity. And I when we were in Maui, he was asked about how much longer he's going to do this, and he didn't give any indication that he was ready to step down. So where do we kind of hold Izzo on a national front?
Well, I think one of the actually, he's tied with Bob, and he has a chance to pass him tomorrow, and interestingly, against Indiana, which is kind of really a cool twist to the whole thing. So he tied him on Saturday with the comeback win over Oregon. What I said on BTN on Saturday was that the number that I think should define Tom Izzo is, as of Selection Sunday, and this is close to a lock, he will coach in his 27th consecutive NCAA tournament. It's the longest streak of all time. And this isn't, I went and I took the Carolina job and I went to 27 in a row, or I took the Indiana job, or UCLA or Kentucky. This is, I went to Michigan State, which had been a really good Big Ten program under Judd Heathcote, had won the national championship with Magic in '79, and then went. But they didn't win. I don't know that Judd ever made another Final Four after that. I don't think he did. So it wasn't like this was a titan, and he's turned it into one. 27 consecutive NCAA tournaments. Dean didn't do that. Kay didn't do that. Bill Self might get there, but Izzo might still be extending the record. It's an amazing stat, and he's a guy that I got to know when he was very young in terms of being a head coach. I went second year. They were playing in the NIT at home against GW, and I was in Auburn Hills covering the Bearcats. And I drove over for their game. I did my night before NCAA thing in Auburn Hills. I got in a car. I drove over. I got there for the second half, and then I went out for drinks with Tom and Tom Crean, and we sat there and got to know each other a little bit. So I've known him since that night, and he's always been really open and accommodating. And I was talking to my partner, Rafael Davis, on BTN, was talking about how he was sitting in a barbershop recently, and Izzo called him because he wanted to say something about something he said on TV or something. And he said he was on the phone for 15 minutes, and I said, "That's a miracle, Rafael." I said, a 15-minute phone call with Tom Izzo, it's usually the length of Lawrence of Arabia when you get Izzo on the phone. You can't get him off. He just has so much to say. Usually it's about the state of college sports. Long before transfer portal and all that, he was concerned about where it was going. And now, whereas other coaches are surrendering and saying, you know what, this is too much work, and they aren't saying it's too much work, but that's really why they're leaving. And he's saying, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. I'm going to still do my thing. And yeah, their guys get paid the NIL and all that. He's not saying, oh, you have to come here for room and board and all that, but he's still doing it his way. I mean, he's got a McDonald's All-American on his team, plays 19 minutes a game as a sophomore. Like that doesn't happen anymore. And the guy's still there, and he's still playing hard.
You mentioned Indiana a little bit ago. You've written a story, Woodson stepping down, Dusty May, because he was a student manager there, who just left FAU last year to go to Michigan. Is he the number one candidate? I know you wrote a story. You got 9 in there.
Yeah, he's probably the number one unrealistic candidate. Maybe he's not the most unrealistic of the unrealistic candidates, but he's the number one candidate on the unrealistic list. You know what I mean? Like the guys that get thrown out that never happen. Last March for Kentucky, everybody was saying it was Nate Oates, Dan Hurley, and Scott Drew, and I said, nope, not happening. And then I told you it would be Mark Pope. Now this one's a little harder because there's no Mark Pope sitting there with a great coaching acumen and the Indiana background. That guy's not out there. So who do you get? Well, I mean, would they like to get Dusty May? Yeah, but you're a year late. You waited and you missed. And I don't see him leaving Michigan for Indiana with all Michigan has in terms of resources and facilities, and they're just going to make it hard for him to say yes. And among the other candidates that they're trying to throw in there are Brad Stevens. Come on, he's president of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
why would he want to do that? You're working a normal work week pretty much, except for maybe around the draft and trade deadline. And then we're gonna say you got to work twice as many hours for about the same money. What do you say? It's not happening. So it's going to be somebody that is a level down. That's my phrase, a level down. And the good news for Indiana now is that a level down, honestly, is financially includes the ACC now. It includes the Big 12. Not all the schools in those leagues. I mean, like not Kansas or Duke or Carolina, but it includes those schools. So I do think that'll be something that Indiana does have an advantage in their search over some other major schools. But you look around right now, who's doing it at Louisville? Pat Kelsey. Where was he? Charleston. That's where you got to look to get your next great coach.
He is our Hall of Famer from the Sporting News and BTN. That's the Big Ten Network, for those of you who might have wondered. He's Mike DeCourcy. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Have a great Valentine's Day. I wish you could pick up some stuff because, I forgot to mention this before. If you come in today and say Sports 56, you get 14% off of your purchase. Sorry, Mike, you're too far away. But thank you.
I apologize. Oh, well, next time.
There you go. That is Mike DeCourcy. He's brought to you by Southern Security. If you're a business owner that's got a small business, maybe you're buying your first home, think Southern Security. They could be your trusted financial partner. For over 75 years, Southern Security has been serving the Mid-South with the best rates, absolutely the best service, and always the newest technology. They've been voted best credit union in the Mid-South for 6 consecutive years. You can find out how to join the Southern Security family by going to southernsecurity.org or call them, 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of Tiger Athletics and 901 Women. Southern Security, that's your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. We're at Dinstall's. We got things we're giving away. Come in for a drawing. Say Sports 56. Get 14% off of your order. And just come see me. Love to see you right here at Pleasant View. We got medals coming your way in a matter of moments.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't their only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for a limited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun,
South Hollywood and across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenSwingerGlass.com. BenSwinger Glass. Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Metis today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call them 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Colin Coward here with pro tight end Dallas Goedert to share his journey with plaque psoriasis and how he tackles his symptoms with Otezla apremilast.
Yeah, being a football player with plaque psoriasis can be challenging. My skin gets flaky and itchy, so my doctor told me about a pill, Otezla. It works from the inside out.
Otezla is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months. Dallas is an Otezla patient that has been compensated for his time. Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms, severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts.
Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
If you're struggling with plaque psoriasis, talk to your doctor about Otezla. Visit Otezla.com for more information or call 1-844-4-OTEZLA for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Yes, we piloted our way to Dinstall's on Pleasant View. Dropped by. We've got things we're giving away. Box of chocolate-covered strawberries, a pound of assorted chocolates, 4 tickets for U of M basketball against Florida Atlantic on the 23rd. If you come in and buy at any of the 5 locations today, Sports 56, that's what you say, you get 14% off your Valentine's Day purchase. We're going to give out medals ourselves here in a minute, brought to you by the good folks at Grind City Brewing. That Gator Patrol, I love that stuff. That tangerine cream sour, it's got everything. It's got sweetness, it's got sour, it's got balance with a subtle hint of cream. It's a really cool option if you haven't tried Grind City Brewing's Gator Patrol. Or check out any of their beers. Check out their grounds. They're gorgeous. I'm telling you, they have concerts there, great view of the skyline and the bridges, and that brewery is gorgeous, I promise you. It's a taste of Memphis, too, just like Dinstall's. It's Grind City Brewing. All right, my friend, let's give out our magic medals. I got a bunch of bad ones, but I got 3 good ones. Bronze. This is going to go obscure here. Trina Prater. She's the coach of the Memphis softball team. And over this weekend, they had their own 901 Classic. Now, I'm not saying that this was SEC competition. Oklahoma wasn't in town. Alabama or Florida weren't in town. But they were 5-0. Now, do you realize last year they won 6 games? They've won 14 games in 2 years under a coach named Stephanie Van Brakel-Prothro. In comes Trina Prater, 5-0. Their goal is 38 wins this year. She's won almost as many games in one weekend as the team won all of last year. Great start for the Memphis softball team and Trina Prater. I got to give a silver medal to Dante Harris, playing for Tyrese Hunter. He had 14 points. He had 3 rebounds. He had an assist and 2 steals. No turnovers. This is a guy who can really make a difference for the U of M when it comes to depth. He's now absolutely established himself as the 8th man in the rotation. And I think you want to go 8 deep. Maybe in tournament time at the NCAAs, you get down to 7. But this guy's going to be a reliable 8th guy. He really showed it yesterday because he had a start with Hunter on the bench. He came through in a big way. And again, the Tigers are 20-4 and 10-1 in league play, a game and a half of UAB for the regular season championship. And I got to give Philly, the Eagles, for their dominating win over the Kansas City Chiefs. The three-peat was spoiled, 40-22. That's your final. And I start with the defensive line because both of the Philly trenches were outstanding. But 6 sacks without a blitz, and they caused 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. Jake Elliott, you realize the former Tiger kicker, had 16 points in the game, leading scorer. Not just that, he had the most field goals made without a miss, and 3 times they made him re-kick after he made them. He was unbelievable. Last one being from 50, and I believe the announcer said that would have been good from 65 yards out. That was incredible. But the biggest gold has to go to Jalen Hurts. Remember, he was the guy Nick Saban lost faith in, even after he won a national title, and he brought in Tua Tagovailoa, and now he becomes just the 3rd quarterback to win a national title and a Super Bowl. Joe Montana, Joe Namath both did that. He had almost 300 yards total, 3 touchdowns, and he becomes the first guy in a long time. Steve Young was the last guy to lead both teams in passing and throwing in a Super Bowl. Quite the performance for Jalen Hurts.
It was absolutely a great performance by Jalen Hurts. I have a few more medals, good medals, I guess I should say, than you do. I'll start with my bronze, the Tiger basketball team for their win yesterday over Temple. They keep winning, and at this point, that's all you want to do if you're the Tigers is just keep winning, avoid any of these bad losses in this conference. So they get my only bronze. I got to give a silver medal to Anthony Davis, his first game as a Dallas Maverick. He goes out there, first quarter, he's unbelievable, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, when you talk about trade acquisitions and first games with a new team, it's hard to start a game better than what Anthony Davis did on Saturday. Looked really good in that Dallas Mavericks uniform, so I got to give him a silver for the way he played in his first game.
I got to tell you something. I've got a medal for him, too.
But it's not a silver medal. That's a shame,
No.
Dave. It's a shame. My other silver, you beat me to it. 5-0, the softball team over the weekend in their tournament. You're right, Dave. You know, it wasn't heavy hitters in town. It wasn't the toughest competition. But when you talk about a team that just won 6 games last season, the entire season last year, you got to build that confidence, and winning does that. So a 5-0 weekend. I know you called a few of those games over on ESPN Plus over the weekend. The way they won some of those games, I mean, there was at least 1, 2, maybe 3 games where they were trailing. They had to come back and win late. So I thought a really impressive weekend for the softball team. They get a silver. My gold, I got to give a gold to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think many people saw that game going that way in terms of the blowout and the way that they won that. I got to give credit to Brett Norsworthy, who has been saying for the last 2 weeks he thought it was going to be an Eagles blowout. I thought he was crazy, but he was right. The Eagles get a big-time win. And Jake Elliott, what a game by him. A guy that, let's be honest, Dave, has not had his best season this year.
No.
Only made 79% of his field goals this season, but was able to do it when the lights were the brightest. You mentioned it. I saw the picture, or the stats going around. Most points scored by a university in this year's Super Bowl. Memphis at the very top with 16 points. All from Jake Elliott. They threw up the stat. What was it? 50-yard or more kicks, field goals this year. Jake Elliott was 1 for 8 on the season. That was the second worst in the NFL. Drilled it when he had that opportunity in the Super Bowl. So unbelievable performance by Jake Elliott. My final 2 golds gotta go to Florida, who upset Auburn on Saturday, and then Clemson, who upset Duke later that night.
Don't forget the Tigers beat
That's
that
right.
Clemson team. And they beat them in Clemson, and that's where Duke fell for sure. All right. First rush goes to T. Morant, Ja's father. Got tossed by security
Skedaddle.
at the direction of the officials for harassing them, saying disparaging things about their character. Wow, that's tough for Ja. I don't think T is doing his son a lot of favors.
Well, what did Josh say after the
absolutely is
game?
embarrassing.
He was like, he got thrown out so I wouldn't have to get thrown out or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, he was protecting his dad,
Yeah,
and I give him a
that's
lot
right.
of credit for that. So I'm giving AD a rust. I know he had that good start. This was his first game in the Dallas Uni, right?
That's right.
You know now he's strained his left abductor.
Yeah.
You know that he's out for multiple weeks.
That's right.
He's not even going to be able to play.
Yeah.
They were giving up on Luka because they weren't sure he could play all the time. And here's their big acquisition. He's already out multiple weeks after one game. Unbelievable. I'm going to give a rust. You might not like this one. I'm giving a rust to the USGA and the RNA. Because they have now given live golfers a path into the U.S. Open and the British Open
I
Championship.
did see that.
I just think it's absurd. Until Liv's tournaments are 72 holes,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be recognized. And they're never going to do that because you know what Liv stands for?
It's the Roman numeral, right?
For 54.
That's right.
They're not giving that up.
No, certainly not.
That's a rust. I can't believe the USGA and the RNA did that. And then I got to give a rust to the Kansas City offensive line. I mean, they were just manhandled. I felt bad for Mahomes, who says, I'm going to be more motivated than ever now. But I don't necessarily blame Mahomes as much as I blame that offensive line. He never had a chance. He could never get a rhythm. He could never get his feet set because here they kept coming, and they did it without blitzing. The Kansas City O-line disappeared in that football game.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. Dave, my rust, I'll roll through them really quickly. I got to give my first rust to Anthony Davis. I mean, your first game with Dallas, you go out there, you played great, you looked good when you were available, and I think maybe, especially Nico Harrison, was probably sitting there going, oh man, look at this. This is working out better than we thought it would. And then next thing you know, you leave with a non-contact injury. Now you're out for a couple of weeks. Worst case scenario for the Dallas Mavericks, and certainly worst case scenario for Anthony Davis. He gets a rust. My second rust goes to the center that was supposed to replace Anthony Davis, Mark Williams, the big trade that happened right before the trade deadline. It was announced Saturday night that he would be sent back to the Hornets because he failed his physical with the Lakers. So now the Lakers pretty much without a center. Maybe there'll be a player in the buyout market to try to go and get another center for this team.
How would you feel if you're Dalton Connect?
Oh, man.
You got let go, and now, you're back.
You get traded and then welcome back. I mean, I guess there's two sides to that coin. I mean, you knew if you're going to Charlotte, probably getting a lot of shots up. But now you're coming back to the Lakers, so probably a better run franchise than what they've got over there in Charlotte. My final rust goes to the Grizzlies. 125-112 loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, for most, all of that game, Oklahoma City was the far superior team. Grizzlies made it a little closer at the end, but it definitely looks like OKC, what they're doing in the first place right now in the West, they are a really good team.
They are. All right, my friend, thank you much. Those are our medals. They are brought to you by the good folks at the Spirit Shop. Super Bowl's over. I know you're out. You need to restock, and you need to know what's the latest. Well, I can solve that problem one place, in East Memphis. It's the Spirit Shop, 4848 Poplar. That's Poplar and St. Nick. It's that little log cabin you've passed by a million times. It's not so little inside. The best service, friendly people. You get a great education. They'll tell you why this particular wine is an up-and-comer. He's got the valuable bourbons. He's got the ones that are a really good deal, and he'll tell you why and what the difference is. Get an education and get restocked up. See my friend Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop. We are at Dinstall's. We'll be here till 1. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. You come in. We got Cashew Crunch. We got Turtlettes. We got caramels. We got assorted chocolates, all for you to try. And we're giving away chocolate-covered strawberries, a pound of chocolates. We got 4 tickets for basketball, the Tigers in Florida Atlantic on the 23rd. John will be making all of the drawing coming your way at about 1. In the meantime, come 14% discount at all the Dinstall's locations if you say Sports 56. I'll say adieu. But Johnny's right back here at Tinsel's on Pleasant View. Don't go anywhere and have a great day.